welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here at Procurement and Supply Chain Live Singapore 2025. Now, don't forget, these panels and sessions are all interactive. If you want to put any questions in, all of that's handled in the panel down the side of your screen, alongside all the networking functions, all the information on our sessions, all the speaker biographies. Absolutely everything you could possibly want to know is hidden away in there, so do take some time to explore that. Right, time for our first panel discussion of the day on AI in procurement and supply chain. It's a huge subject, something that comes up in basically every presentation we've done today at one time or another. So let's meet our panel and get to their expertise. First of all, we are joined by Amit Garg, Head of APAC Pixel Supply Chain Planning and Operations at Google Asia. Also with us, Atul Chandna, Partner, EY, and Sunny Murtaja, Head Commercials at Lenskart India. Hi to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting us.
You are very welcome indeed. Okay, lots to cover off over the next sort of 40 minutes or so. So let's get to it. We're talking AI in procurement and supply chain, and I'm going to start with the broadest of broad questions, really. And Amit, if I could start with you first of all, before I go over to the rest of the panel on this, how big a role do you feel AI really will be playing in the future of procurement and supply chains?
Definitely. Now AI is the new buzzword. Everyone is running behind it. And in short, yes, AI is making a difference in every industry, and in supply chain particularly. If we see, there are 3-4 areas where it's going to really change. The biggest, which I personally see, is demand planning and forecasting related activities, where all the predictive planning and all the planning activities, wherever they are there, even like production scheduling, transportation planning, all these planning activities require too much of manual effort right now. The forecast accuracies are not great with manual work, but This is where AI can play a very, very important role in improving the accuracy and also get a lot of real-time data, which gets missed out when it's done manually. So I feel this is the most important part, and then it will lead to a lot of benefits like your inventory controls, having lean inventory in channel and reducing the wastage, sustainability. I can keep on counting, but this is one area. If we fix the right demand planning, it will kind of impact the whole supply chain.
Yes, Amit will be digging further into the key benefits in just a second. Atul, if I can come to you next, your thoughts, how big a role do you feel it is going to be playing in the future?
I think there'll be two types of corporates, right? And you've heard this earlier. One who are going to embrace it and are going to continue with the growth journey. The others who are going to actually wait and watch and somebody else to grow, and they will be the laggers, right? So clearly it's how we use it. Yes, we're going to fall, but yes, we're going to stand up again. Yes, we're going to rebuild it. The journey is going to be no different from any new technology that's kind of hit us, but this is way beyond, because it's gone in the consumer's hand. With the whole evolution of LLMs and stuff, it's become the way of life. So that's kind of driving it. Before that, it was something which people used to experiment in labs, but now it's no longer that. And with the whole switch in terms of what's going to happen, all the use cases that Amit earlier mentioned, way more of those being thought through as we go along with clients that we day in and day out are being asked that question.
Sunny, if I can come to you next, please.
Sure. So AI is here to stay, and in future there will be two types of people who are adapting AI, who are not adapting AI. And if you just see a Deloitte report, which we said 83% of the procurement leaders believe that digital transformation, including AI, will be pivotal in achieving their supply chain or procurement objectives. Even Sprinkler Link also said that adapting AI in procurement supply chain increases their efficiency by 15%. So we are to say, and also different AI functions inclusive of predictive analytics and normal language programming are here to stay, and that will all help in improving your efficiencies.
Thank you, Sunny. As Amit was getting into just a moment ago, some of the key benefits, I'm going to twist that question slightly and start with you, Atul, if I can. Which are the benefits that excite you the most? Which are the ones that make you, get on the edge of your seat and thinking this is a real game changer? Which are the key benefits that excite you the most? As I say, Atul, if I could start with you, please.
So look, I think where AI, I would use the word, has proven itself, right? It's got those summarization capability, research capabilities, and things which are in the hands of consumers now. What excites me the most is AI needs to get into from an assisting mode to an autonomous mode, and that's the efficiency gain. That's the decision power of amount of information which gets crunched, and I don't have to go through reels and reels of information to get to the crux of it. Is getting what is being most used now. But in future, we see the supply chain, the procurement are going to get into autonomous. We use the word in procurement that moving forward, the buyers are not going to negotiate. What I'm excited about is bots are going to negotiate with bots. So it's the efficiency, it's the insights, it's the decision making. All these are the biggest benefits that I see.
Thank you. The idea of bots negotiating with bots, that could be a spectator sport for the future. Sunny, if I can come to you next, which areas excite you the most?
There are two areas that excites me the most regarding using AI in a day-to-day life, especially in procurement and supply chain, is that it helps in enhanced decision making and includes the predictive analytics. So these are the two things that I feel for enhanced decision making, because we live in a era whereas we are bombarded with lots of data sets. So using predictive analytics that helps in data crunching, making giving the insights to make better decisions is one, and that is also inclusive predictive analytics to use make the strategies effectively, also in risk management as well. So these are the things that excites me about using AI.
Thank you. And Amit, if I can come to you last, the same question, please.
I think we all have seen the news today with the geopolitical things which are happening in the tariff world. So we can expect every month, every week, there might be some new tariffs imposed by some other country. And these are the tariffs which impact our supply chain significantly. And that's where real-time scenarios, and as Atul was mentioning, maybe we need to have like real time, all these bots changing the production plan or procurement plan from different suppliers. I think this is where the stage which I am also very excited about, how things in the external one, whether it's like weather forecast or even things like what's happening in the transportation world. Suddenly there is some crisis somewhere and then you need to change your entire routing. So all these things which are beyond the industry or beyond our own control, the external factors, how we can use them with AI and how we can plan according to that. I think that's something that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I think the concept of things changing day to day has accelerated even further. It feels slightly more like hour to hour at the moment. A very exciting time, but as I said earlier in the show, let's not get into politics for the duration of this, if we could. Let's look into some examples now, and what I love to hear about from people of your experience, the examples you've seen of this sort of technology being used in the wild that's made you think this is why it's being used. These are the great ideas, some of the why wasn't this my idea kind of moments. Sunny, if I could start with you, what are your favourite examples that you've seen that have really jumped out at you?
In contract management. So it helps in identifying when the renewals are happening, where the how to utilize for better negotiations in the future. Writing the contracts, draft of the contracts is where excites me and is a live example where we use currently. So this is one exciting part is there. And where I would like to go forward is how to use AI in making predictions or categorization and spend analysis.
Thank you, Sunny. Amit, if I can come to you next. Examples from you, please.
Sure. So I can share something about, I spoke earlier, is demand forecasting. This is one area where we have implemented a lot of AI, and we have a Google proprietary solution in terms of Vertex AI and all that. So that's where we have seen the maximum benefits. So we have seen double-digit improvement in our forecast accuracy wherever we have used AI. And it's helping us a lot. Our inventory cost is very high for the devices and all that. And if we have a better forecasting, we can definitely reduce our inventory cost or even the aging inventory and everything. So we can already see a huge improvement there. And I think in future, because these models are new, they are still learning, and it all depends on machine learning, the kind of input that you give. With future, there will be better inputs, there will be more decision making. So I hope with this, we can achieve much, much better accuracy, and it can be a completely lean supply chain. That's everybody's dream to have.
Absolutely. Atul, if I can come to you next, please.
So look, I think to be honest, there's so many use cases been there for a while. As earlier mentioned, a lot of in supply chain forecasting and all of this. Where I see the leap is happening is the switch for how those use cases were constrained previously in terms of having conversations, having discussions with a bot kind of. So if you kind of hear the word, where I see the maximum usage of bringing that AI agentic workflows together, pretty much where I can speak to the bot and bot actually responds by searching everything across my enterprise is what's getting into the hookup of it. Because previously I needed an insight. I needed to preamp and define how the visualization is going to look like, how AI is going to then react based on that. I think what we are saying is now the use cases are to do predictions, to do forecasting, to do those things. Now are LLP enabled. I can actually leave it to the guys who are not tech savvy, and they can easily interact with the AI. So I see those use cases where those interaction layers are so much more built onto it, where the adoptions and use cases that we're all talking about will be utilized.
Well, we've explored so many benefits already and showed some fantastic examples. But let's flip things for a second. We've been very half full. Let's be a little bit glass half empty if we can for a moment, and look at some of the challenges that are involved, of which there are. For all of you, what are the main challenges and drawbacks of using AI? What's maybe holding us back? What are some of the blockers? Amit, if I could start with you, please.
Sure. I think one of the immediate blocker that I see is over dependency on AI. I can share one example. Since we have already implemented AI in many places, I think what happens is people tend to forget the basics and they get over dependent on AI. So if I ask somebody, okay, how did this number come? People sometimes may feel it's a black box. Okay, the AI gave me, or this model gave me this number, and that's how this number is there. So I think it's very, very important that we use AI, but we don't forget the basics. We understand how these things are. So AI should not be just used for getting the numbers, but also to understand what's going, the science behind it. And second most important thing is decision making. I kind of disagree with Atul there that I cannot let the entire AI make the whole decision making for me. I think what AI can help me is to give better insights and giving me the right solution, at least a recommended solution. But I really want at the end of the day, a human or a leader to kind of make decisions. That's where, because some of the things AI won't be able to capture, and that's where that human intervention might be needed.
Well, Atul, I'll let you pick up from there.
So look, one biggest thing which is holding, especially enterprises that I work with and stuff, is always going to be, is AI able to manage the data by itself? Is it not going to generate a hallucination around the data? Is it going to actually be constrained because I'm constrained by my data security? Would I be able to use the world of knowledge and information not just for my kids to do homework, but actually to be used in real enterprise in that sort of way? Does everybody needs to actually have their own LLP models and, number 4, number 5, and whatever it is within every enterprise? And how do we actually get to the point where data is accessible seamlessly without being worried about the exposure, without being worried that it's a hallucination, incorrect data and stuff? So the biggest use case that I missed out earlier mentioning is actually AI needs to cleanse its own data.
Absolutely.
That's a very good point. Sunny, if I can come to you next, please.
Sure. So, as per me, and this is my experience, is three things: is long development cycles, the cost, and the change management. Because what I've seen is it requires a lot of, like what Atul also mentioning, cleansing data, testing models, refining algorithms, the time to scale, along with the ROI that it proves. So that takes long time. Plus the change management, aligning people, why this is required, uh, uh, aligning people, development skills. So change management becomes biggest hurdle in this.
Well, let's stick with the idea about the people side of this, because that has cropped up a few times in this discussion here, and I have got some audience questions coming in, so I'll come to those in a moment as well. The number of times I've heard this, that the AI isn't necessarily a tech problem, it's sometimes a people problem, as all of you have alluded to in different ways there. How do we solve the people side of this? Because should AI be augmenting the people? Should it be replacing? Are we there yet? Atul, I'll start with you. How does the people factor play within the AI environment here in procurement and supply chain?
The AI remains to be a fast-moving area. It changes almost on a monthly, if not daily basis in terms of what the abilities it actually brings to the bear, right? So while the investments are being thought through in terms of use cases and picking up very specific ones, are we thinking about enterprise capability building? Because that kind of remains to say, is supply chain a function? Would AI become a function like supply chain? And will we be investing enough in the people who actually know about it rather than actually trying to home build it? And nothing wrong in home building it. It's just the longer time it takes, right? So that's the journey every enterprise needs to think about it, because as earlier Sunny was mentioning, the biggest challenge around change management, the biggest challenge is change management because we invest the least into it in an organization. We are focusing on doing the build, we're focusing on doing the design, we're focusing on delivering the data. But enterprises that we work with always find it challenging to say, do I have enough budget kept in to build the people capability, and not only the capability that is required on the day that we go live, but to sustain it for next 6-12 months so that the ROIs are coming up.
Sunny?
What I feel is on two fronts. One is the lack of skill, because AI requires multidisciplinary skills, data science, analytics, engineering, subject matter expertise as well. And therefore, when a procurement team lacks data literacy, it would naturally struggle to access model outputs or enhance algorithms. That is one. Plus also the trust deficit amongst users. Which is like lack of understanding of AI recommendation can lead to sometimes skepticism and underutilization. Transparency on how systems arrive at certain forecasts or signals is therefore vital for user adoption. And that's why change management requires persuasion. So it is two-way, the person itself and the surrounding skills as well, depending upon other people as well.
Thank you, sir. If I can come to you last on this one. Oh, I think we might have lost Amit for a second there. Oh, we've got him back. There we go. Amit, if I can come to you next, please.
A lot of organizations that I see, their top management has kind of agreed with AI implementation. The biggest resistance is coming from the working population. And I think there are two fears. One is, of course, the biggest is job security. People feel AI will take away my job. Second is, of course, as Sunny and Atul mentioned, the skill set. So I think unless these two things are addressed in a company, we'll keep seeing these change management issues. I think skill is kind of easy to still manage because that's something can be taught. But in terms of job security, how does a company go through the transition, take care of its employees during this transition is the most important. Unless the company doesn't address these two issues, they will continuously face challenge and the AI implementation will not be great, because the people who are working on the ground, they should love the AI implementation. They are the people who are doing day-to-day work. So if they don't love it or they don't take it completely, the AI implementation may not go fully well in the company, and then everyone will have doubts whether it's right, the trust deficit that Sunny was talking about. So people have to really take it in full spirit.
And speaking of the job situation there, that feeds in perfectly to a question we've had in from one of the viewers, Chinmay. Thank you very much for this. Will there be job growth or jobs reduction because of AI in procurement? It's an interesting question. Atul, if I can start with you, your thoughts on that?
So look, I think like any other technology, like the evolution of mankind that we have been going through the revolution 1, 2, 3, 4 industrials, right? We will create new jobs. We will generate new jobs. And, everybody heard about the new job of a prompt engineer, right? So, we're going to start creating those jobs. So I see that there is a reskilling need here. I see there is a need. We will find more complex problems to solve with more advanced AI technology that's landing to us. So I see it not, resulting into risk, but rather resulting into so much more that I can do, hence making more work done in a smaller amount of time, translating to I can do more value-added work in other areas which I was not spending time.
Very much augmentation there. Sunny, if I can come to you, same question. Anything you'd want to add to that?
Right. So this is a biggest misconception that AI will replace all supply chain or procurement jobs. But the reality is, while AI takes over rule-based repetitive tasks, and this allows the procurement team or the supply chain team, specifically the procurement team, to focus more on value-added areas like negotiations, strategic supply relationship management, project management, and also data-driven decision-making. So I feel also, rather than being an overnight disruption, it will be a gradual augmentation of skills that suits progressive adoption as well. And also global think tanks expect majority of the procurement task to involve basically AI collaboration by the end of this decade, instead of being an outright replacement of humans.
Amit, anything you'd want to add on that?
Yeah, just adding few points. I think kind of Atul and Sunny covered. It's the skill set which is needed differently. I think overall number of jobs and all will probably remain same, and we would be able to do more complex things in future. But yes, people have to dramatically shift their skill set. Previously, we used to have people who used to do a typewriter job and all that, but it changed to a computer typist, and now you don't even need computer typist. So I think that's where it was, of course, a very simple example, but this is where the things will evolve, where there are a lot of work still in supply chain which are very manual, which probably are not needed in future, and AI will take over. But there are new complex roles which will come, and that's where if people can invest time right now, develop those AI skill set, they can kind of shift to those jobs. So there will be a reprioritization, there would be shift in the job category, but overall jobs would probably remain same, or actually it will grow with the way demand and everything is growing.
Well, let's evolve this question a step further. This is another question from one of our viewers, Sarab. How do you envision the roles of supply chain managers and leaders evolving in the future, given the impact of AI on supply chain through tools, analysis and decision making? So this is more looking at a leadership level within procurement and supply chain. How do we see that role changing? Because with AI involved, again, there's going to be augmentation, there's going to be evolution. Sunny, I'll start with you on this one. How do you see the role of leadership changing once AI really becomes firmly embedded into all areas of procurement and supply chain?
A very good question. So what I feel is it will help in crunching all the data. So at leadership level, it will help them taking better and timely decision basis the trend that is going on in the market or the risk analysis that is going on. So AI will definitely help in crunching those data, reducing those redundant tasks, and using the prescriptive analysis or prescriptive analytics in the procurement. It will help us in giving them the right risk reduction or the value creating potential, the cost saving potentials by better spend analysis. So this will help leadership taking better and quick decisions.
Amit?
I think in the end, it's leadership who needs to really, and I was talking about it briefly. Leadership team needs to think holistically when they are implementing AI and they are looking at all those things. So there will be a lot of impacts, change management, which is all needed. And also they need to think through what is the scope that they are looking. Yes, AI is a good word. Everyone wants to implement, but as a leader, they really need to focus on what needs to be done by AI, what needs to be done by human, and what should be the scope of the implementation. Just throwing everything to AI and making everything automated, and where human interventions are needed. So I think leadership has to do a lot of work in terms of decision making, where the implementation should happen and how it should happen.
Thank you. Atul?
And while I agree with all the points, the key aspect that also comes in is, again, what else the managers would do, right? So while I will have the AI techniques to give me the performances, to alerts and all other aspects, which previously I was crunching like hell, I would see that the roles of managers would actually shift from monitoring to mentoring, because they should be having more time to be able to build that capability, which requires the same workforce to be able to function as this in this new environment.
I love that perspective. I don't think there are many managers out there who don't like the sound of that, actually being able to improve the people they're working with. That sounds like some beautiful dream that we'd all love to do a bit more of. Let's stick with a bit of leadership and decision makers here, because there are so many tech solutions out there, and you should see my email inbox. Every half an hour I seem to get another email from a different solution provider, a different tech solution, which is going to change the world overnight when it comes to the infusion of Gen AI or similar technologies. What's your advice from all of you about how to make sure you're getting the best from your AI usage and picking the best tech solutions when there are so many out there? Could be a little bit confusing in places for people to make sure they're getting their best. Amit, I'll start with you if I can, with your tech hat on. What's your advice to people? How do you make sure you're getting the best thing?
I think I should go the last. Let's Atul and Sunny talk about it first.
We all work for you.
To hear their perspective.
Atul, let's go with you first then.
Look, I think I think every organization would have where are they actually investing most, right? And yes, while by far the base capabilities of AI would exist, there will be questions around what comes in. Very similar to the world of ERP when SAPs of the world and others came in, right? The same question comes in to say, yes, I can do this core. Then it comes down to the next level of analysis to say how well you integrate with it, how well you talk to the ecosystem across, how do I even need to talk to this? So there's already, again, a structure being built in terms of what is required by an organization. Different industries have different ecosystem to work with. There'll be products built on top of the platforms, which will be pre-built, pre-configured, which would add value to specific industries, specific use cases, etc. And that's how the whole identification cycle would work through it, looking through whether, how well the product is investing into the roadmap, because the technology is changing so fast, what exactly is going to happen, how much of the backing it has, and how much of the geopolitical tensions it can actually, handle with. So there will be various factors that it actually goes across in that, and every industry and the sector needs to look at it in those lenses associated to it.
Speaking of lenses, Sunny, let's hand over to you.
Right. So as per me, it should be more an agile in an ecosystem so that it's easy to integrate. The API should be easy to integrate. That's the one. Being from procurement, I will always talk about cost. So the cost will be a major factor. There are different companies, established companies who offers different modules. Each claim it is better than the other, but finally depends upon the cost. Third one is how it is easily adapted by users as well. And there is no one size fit all. It has to be customizable. That's the reason I said initially it has to be agile so that it can be customized easily for every solution. So coming from more of a startup background now, though we are a very big company in scale now, but at the heart, we are still a startup working towards EBITDA. So the cost becomes a critical part for me to take a decision in adapting which tool or which company to go ahead with.
Thank you, Sunny. I refuse to apologise for the lens reference. I think I'm allowed one. I think I'm allowed one in this particular panel. Forgive me of that. Amit, if I could pass to you.
Transition. Yes, I think I wanted to go last because I'm from that company who is one of the leading solution provider in this space. So I think definitely heard it. Cost is one of the important thing that clients will look for. And I think, again, in my opinion, in the end, it goes with the leaders, what they are looking for in the company in terms of implementation. Because as I mentioned earlier, there can be many factors, but unless the working group, the working population doesn't like the solution, it will be a failed implementation. So it's very, very important, as Sunny was talking about, how it interfaces with their existing workflow. If you suddenly ditch the entire workflow that the team were working and you introduce completely new, it will create a lot of resistance and it will not give you the benefit. So first and most important thing is how it is plugged, how it can be easily plugged in your current work system. Second is with your entire ecosystem, because your suppliers might be on a completely different platform. They are using some different technologies. So we should not just look only internally, but also see externally what my own ecosystem is working and kind of try to see where are the commonalities there so that the data flow and all the integrations in future are easier. And as Atul said, we have gone through this transition. This is not new. When ERP came, we went through all, whether it should be SAP, Oracle, or many other examples. So I think people have gone through. Now they need to go through with the similar kind of decision making for AI, what solutions they can work with their own companies within the cost budgets they have, what's the right balance in terms of ecosystem. And the most important thing is how much complex model is needed. For example, as Sunny was saying, we probably need only these capabilities, that capabilities are not even needed. So how do we make sure that we are not over indexing on some solution and going with a very super complex, but choosing what is really needed for the company? That's where a dedicated team within the organization, which can really does that job of, it's a PMO team or whatever team, who can do real technical analysis and come up with a solution. That's what is needed.
And that was a very, I would say, very Switzerland answer there from you there, Amit. You stayed very, very neutral there without naming names. So thank you very much indeed. One question that has come in from the audience here is about the trust in AI, in particular here about market analysis. What I'd like to do is spread that wider. How do we know that we can trust what we're getting back from these AI solutions to make sure they are what we're expecting, when it comes to bias and so forth? Let's spread this question into the wider issue of trust there. Sunny, if I can go to you first. For you, how important is it you can trust the data you're getting back from the AI, the insights you're getting from the AI? How can you make sure you're getting that?
So, there is one statement that everybody says is garbage in, garbage out. So if there is an issue with data quality, you expect it to be not up to the mark. So that is one. So where the data cleansing, normalizing the data comes into play. And of course, even if you use ChatGPT or Gemini, there is a postscriptum at the bottom that it's tend to make mistakes. So that's why the human judgment comes into play. And that is why we were also discussing the previous one. Though we can depend upon AI, but humans are irreplaceable in that perspective.
Thank you. Atul, if we can come to you next, please.
Sure. So look, I think as Sunny mentioned, right, transparency around what AI is utilizing is key. The same goes to if I'm actually getting information from a black box, I lack the trust. If I have clarity of how it's actually arriving at me, I trust it. There's no second thoughts on that. Obviously, there is a whole lot of agencies which are coming up where AI certifications and AI ethics and compliance kind of comes in. That that's kind of adding to it, like any other technology and industry that we kind of get into. So there's AI security and compliance, certifications like ISO, ACs and stuff, which are kicking in, which would help give a confidence if we are dealing with more publicly available information and language models which are more publicly being available. Whereas when it comes down to products which are being in-house built, is going to be translated to, as Sunny mentioned, how did we transform the data? Garbage in, garbage out, and internal data is coming into play a lot on that.
Thank you. Amit?
Yeah, I think the most important is data, as both of them mentioned. We need to make sure that it is clean data. Second is the prompt, that what kind of prompts we are giving, because even that is an engineering now. You can't just ask any random question. It has to be making sense for the model. And I think the third most important thing is how we are implementing it within the organization. So if yes, initially during change management, teams may not feel confident. So start with start with some pilot runs in the organization, and you will see your results. So even when I started my journey, we started with a pilot on a small subset of products. And when we gained confidence, we improved the model and kind of scaled it. So I think this is the journey that we have to go through. People will not just trust anything until they see it. So I would request people to start implementing. You will see the results, and that will give you confidence to kind of grow further and scale up. So try it yourself, test it yourself, and you will get confidence.
Thank you. And one last question, if I can. We are right up on time now, and that is looking to the future. Let's return to what we said at the beginning about almost two levels. Those who have been left behind, if you haven't been interacting with this technology enough. How do you make sure that you get that sweet spot between the two? Whether you go all in and maybe pick the wrong solution, or as Amit was saying, pick a solution that isn't quite right for you, maybe being a bit hasty, or being left behind. What's your advice about how to try and get that balance between the two, of investing in the right technology without getting left behind? I know it's an impossible question, but I'm the host. I'm allowed to do that. Sunny, I'll start with you on this one if I can.
Sure. So just in one line is fail fast, learn faster. So that is the mantra that we should adopt is, and plus start small. That is how we can adapt early, learn from it, and if the course correction is required, we can do that at an early phase.
Thank you, Sunny. That is the answer of a man who knows we are nearly out of time. It is much appreciated. Amit, if I can come to you next.
Yeah, I think there is no question of lagging behind. If you lag behind, then yes, you will be really, really behind. So yes, be agile. I think that's the biggest thing. Start iterating whatever small you can and start learning the new skills.
Thank you. And Atul, I'll give you the final word on this.
Yeah, and last but not least, everything else is there, but make sure we've got a leadership backing and they are really, really pushing the organization, because to make that successful in the longer run, that's crucial.
Absolutely. Well, Amit, Atul, Sunny, thank you so much for joining us. We've covered so much ground. There were some questions we couldn't get to, I'm afraid. We had far more than I could cope with, unfortunately. But thank you so much for joining us here at Procurement and Supply Chain Live Singapore 2025. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot,
much.
Des.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.